Our next speaker is a Libertarian Party candidate, Marco Battaglia. He's from Des Moines, and he's running for Attorney General. Some of you may recognize his name. He ran on the Libertarian Party ticket in the primary for governor. The incumbent in the race is Democrat Tom Miller. Mr. Battaglia.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm Marco Battaglia, and I am in there will be two names on the ballot in the fall, myself and Tom Miller. I want to make it clear that I'm open to debate. I'm a huge fan of debate, letting your ideas stand or fall on those merits. I love the fact-checking that goes on. I come from a media background in journalism, so it's really important to me. I love getting the opportunity to do things like this. And I'm going to start off with some words by a person that really inspired me, especially looking at the history of the Attorney General position. Everyone is in favor of liberty. At least everyone pays it lip service. Yet many of those who pose as eager champions of liberty agitate for measures that would destroy it in one segment of life after another. These words were spoken by John Hospers. He was the Libertarian Party's first presidential candidate, and he actually was from Pella, Iowa. So we've had these ideas running through Iowa as long as the party has existed. There was a doctor out of Olwine that actually put out a libertarian newsletter in the 60s and 70s when we were just starting as a party. Right now, we have Iowans that are pleading guilty for crimes they did not commit. Good old boy networks and nepotism are clouding up the system of justice for Iowans on multiple fronts. They need broken up. They need challenged. We're filling up our prisons by people that have committed crimes that most of us don't think should be crimes at this juncture. Low-level drug crimes, things where someone's too poor to pay a fine, and we're locking them up because of that. I think at the same time, it's a problem that can be addressed. There are crimes like trafficking, like abuse, violent crimes where people are getting out too soon. Coming out of the recent White House conference on criminal justice reform, it looks like there are two things happening. First, work on improving reentry, rehabilitation, and workforce training programs. I think this is great to finally see this coming out of D.C. And second, sentencing reform under the First Step Act, which has already passed the House of Representatives, and President Donald Trump encouraged senators to support this. The proposal, among other things, reduces mandatory minimum sentences for nonviolent drug offenders. Criminal justice reform and occupational licensing reform can go hand in hand. We just need to look over a state to Nebraska, where we have a Libertarian senator, Laura Ebke, and she actually had her occupational licensing reform legislation passed through almost unanimously. There was one dissenting vote, and then it was recently, a couple months back, signed by their governor. What this does, it's the Occupational Board Reform Act. The act requires legislative committees to review licenses each year in a continuous 5-year cycle. They consider whether a license is necessary, whether the training requirements are overly burdensome, and whether certification is abused to exclude competition. This bill also helps Nebraskans with criminal records find work. Recidivism rates are lower in states where former criminals can find gainful employment. In Iowa, we should use the least restrictive regulation possible to protect consumers. Creating opportunities should be a priority across party lines. Through criminal justice reform, we can end the opioid crisis. We can save many lives by phasing out the war on drugs and focusing on harm reduction. This activity is also cost-effective and positive for the workforce in Iowa, where we need able-bodied employees. We need people to be able to work through their addictions so we can keep growing. We have success in urban areas, but we need to bring back success to rural areas as well. I aim to get rid of the criminal stigma associated with hemp and cannabis so Iowans can look at these plants in terms of how they can be useful. It's dangerous for judges to embrace values that diminish personal freedom rather than expand it. Unless someone picks someone's pocket or breaks someone's leg, no one should care how we exercise our freedom or pursue our own happiness. I will defend this position against any Yale or Harvard-educated lawyer. I'll defend it against anyone from any political party. This is the law. This is America to me. This is why my grandparents brought their kids here from Italy to be raised here. It's the responsibility of those at the Attorney General's office to protect constitutional rights of individuals from legislative enactments that have denied those rights. The framers of the Iowa Constitution knew that laws once thought necessary and proper, in fact, could come only to serve to oppress. The framers of the Iowa Constitution knew that laws could be changed. Persons in every generation must invoke the principles of our constitutions in their own search for greater freedom and equity. The Constitution belongs to people, and the people retain the power to shape it over time. I have nearly a decade of experience with laws related to home mortgage, insurance, banking. I have worked against elder abuse, usury, money laundering, and I've helped fight against all manners of financial crimes here in Iowa on the front lines. I swear an oath to take government corruption seriously, whether it be civil or criminal, violent crime or white collar. I have vowed to help Iowans take on the nitrate problem and to ensure that Iowa code is working for the individual. If your health or property are being damaged by your neighbor, civil justice must work for you. Eminent domain must not be abused by the state. I aim to protect the civil liberties of all Iowans. We should never be behind on rape test kits or ballistic testing. This is basic. I've made this a cornerstone of my campaign. The moral issue is huge. The economic issue is huge. Every dollar that we invest in making sure rape test kits are taken care of on time makes back dollars in the stopping of future crimes that the same people wind up committing. The moral side, you can't even put a price on that. It's invaluable. Mental health is a public safety issue, and it must be addressed. I'm an advocate for the clubhouse model of mental health rehabilitation. We need clubhouses throughout the state of Iowa. It would do wonders for people to have access to this model in every community in Iowa. A year of clubhouse rehabilitation is akin to 2 years under hospital care. The clubhouse model has proven to reduce incarcerations, reduce hospitalizations, and recidivism. It is cost-effective compared to the other existing mental health care approaches. We need to adjust the way that we fund mental health to better align with this model. With some startup help from the state and local government, clubhouses could take off all over the state and work towards independence from state funds. We must take a stand against sex trafficking. Sex trafficking is going on right now in Iowa. I intend to focus on stopping the demand. Buyers are people that you walk by here at the fair. Doctors, lawyers, judges, couples. The average buyer profile is 30 to 40-year-old male with family at home, no criminal record, disposable income. Sex trafficking happens in the context of personal relationships quite often. Traffickers are often family members, caregivers, or romantic partners. I call for a modern approach to effectively address human trafficking without making criminals out of victims or consenting adults. Laws should have respect for autonomy and consent. We must end the culture of immunity for buyers. According to Iowa code, buyers and sellers can and must be charged swiftly and aggressively. We must show traffickers and buyers that they are not welcome in our state. A just society cannot let this continue. Policies aimed at eliminating trafficking in sex work can also safeguard the rights of sex workers. And policies that promote sex workers' interests can contribute to anti-trafficking. Human rights principles offer guidance on how to address the two distinct but not contradictory policy objectives. The Libertarian Party is running a record number of candidates across Iowa right now. We have 6 well-respected elected officials, men and women of all ages, Iowans that are Italian, Russian, Hispanic, Black. Individual rights are a beautiful thing, and if you're residing in Iowa or you're just passing through, we know that you have them. When we finally address personal and financial tyranny head-on, suicide will go down, addiction will go down, abortions will go down, violent crime will go down. Our platform allows for a focus on protecting our citizens from violent crimes. Sound economic practice is the silver bullet to income inequality. Equity in the law is the silver bullet to racial disparity. I make the case for giving libertarian leadership a chance. We offer a system that can focus on rape test kits, ballistic testing, and all forms of abuse. We offer a system where everyone gets the due process outlined in our founding documents. We're close to ending the act of civil forfeiture without a conviction entirely. We are close to pardoning a bevy of nonviolent Iowans and giving them their rights back, giving them a chance to grow economically, to have a meaningful job, not getting turned down around every corner because they've committed a nonviolent crime 10 years ago. We are so close to a lot of these reforms. They're coming out of the federal government, and it's kind of a shame that they're actually leading the way. It should be Iowa that is leading the way on these sorts of reforms. We offer reform that will protect the individual from harm, not government that attempts to protect the individual from themselves. Few lawyers with JDs know and understand the historical context surrounding the Constitution. Instead, they are taught case law, which is extremely divergent to the founders' intent. What I offer you is justice reformed. What we offer you is leadership that wants to maximize your freedom and maximize your savings accounts. I'm asking you to hear out our candidates at the local, state, and federal level. Iowa, we can lead the way in the fight against financial tyranny. We can lead by example. We are here to prove that personal and economic freedoms will be a boon for us all. We must demand due process for all people within our borders. We must demand justice reformed. And thank you. I'd be happy to talk to anyone. I'll be over at WHO, going on the radio there in a bit, and really hoping to debate. I would love to debate Tom Miller as many times as he's willing to.